Well, hey you! Welcome back. My name's Jack, the snacky snack that smiles Becky back. And today, we're looking up stories on the internet. Now remember, if you do like today's content, make sure you like and subscribe, support the channel, be a lovely person, and I will love your face. This story by Miguel. Am I the a-hole if I told my dad, 44, to abort a baby that he is going to have with a 24-year-old? My dad got a 24-year-old pregnant. So, I am posting this before everything happens. Today at like 2 p.m, my dad sent me a message saying that he needed to talk with me. We don't talk a lot. He lives in Mexico and my mum and I came to US because of his abuse, but we are better now. We have been here for around 4 years. And I just said that it was fine. Like 30 minutes ago, I was playing at my game and my mum told me that my siblings, 22-year-old male and 24-year-old female, were mad with my dad and my mum was too, and then told me that he got a 24-year-old pregnant while he is 44 years old, and she can still abort, but my dad is literally a bad dad. He used to hit my mum in front of me and my brother, but I was too young to help, around 11 years. But my brother was old, and when he was home, he would fight with my dad. And then he even reported us on the border and robbed us of our visas. And also, we don't even know that girl, so I'm sure that baby was an accident. And my dad has become better, but not enough. He does almost nothing for me, and my mum told him that if he has that baby, she would sue him for the abuse and the 4 years that gave me nothing. And I don't really agree with abortion, but I am sure that the girl would clean my dad's bank account. Ultimately, he has a lot of money. Would I be an a-hole if I tell him to abort or I will go away from him again? Edit, my dad is the one that wants to keep the baby, and the girl is agreeing to any decision, so the aborting is not going to be forcing. Yata, it's her decision. His decision was made when he knocked her up. I'll absolutely agree to this. Lads, the moment you finish inside a woman, you have made the decision that you are going to accept them having a child or not. Like, once that sperm reaches the egg, it's no longer your sperm anymore. It's her egg, so she is the one who decides what to do with it. You can get upset all you want about the idea, well, I did my part in making this child and it should be our decision. But you literally have millions of more chances to make more babies. She has a finite amount of eggs, and 9 months of physical responsibility to be making with the child. Nonetheless, the extreme pain that is childbirth that some women actually die from. If you want to be able to choose what your partner does with your sperm, don't give her your sperm. You're tar if you tell someone to have a woman abort that he got pregnant. First, it's none of your business. Second, he doesn't own her, so he can't tell her what to do. Pregnancy decisions are hers to make, not his. I understand why everybody is upset about this, but stay out of it. You can't fix the family by delivering your misplaced advice to abort. Honestly, it does seem like she's trying to come from a good place by just being afraid at how this woman's going to be treated by the man, and as well as the kid itself, being raised by someone who clearly abuses a family. And she does mention that the decision to be having the abortion is welcomed from him, not exactly going to be forced by him. Though I will agree that his opinion should just be that, an opinion. It shouldn't be the final say. I don't think she's the a-hole with her intentions by requesting that he abort the child, but I do think she is the a-hole for encouraging that he's the one to make the decision for the woman. This story by Wafis. Am I the a-hole for prioritizing a newborn over an almost 19-year-old? My ex-wife and I have been divorced for 18 years. She got full custody of our daughter, now nearly 19. Our daughter has severe cerebral palsy. She is nonverbal but can communicate through a system on her iPad. She needs assistance walking but uses a gait trainer. For the last 18 years, I paid my child support as required. This year I married my girlfriend, 31, and she gave birth to our daughter. I intend to make money, not an object when it comes to our newborn going to the best pre-kindy to 12 school, being able to afford nice clothes and activities, and taking family vacations. This includes a hefty 529 plan for her college education. My ex-wife called and said she was struggling to keep up with bills for our soon-to-be 19-year-old's physical therapy and caregivers because she quit her day job because of a hostile boss and can only deliver food at night. She asked me if I could send over money to help cover our practically 19-year-old's expenses, but I know that she tends to take issue with people really quickly and probably quit just because she was aggravated. The courts years ago agreed with my lawyer's assessment that the amount of support in total I provided was adequate, and I don't understand why she feels entitled to it. Probably because you're the father of the child and therefore responsible for her well-being, but okay, moving on. And in addition, I always felt like my ex-wife was a bad spender and is the root of her own money problems. My current wife is not going back to work and said that $800 a month for a nighttime caregiver was ridiculous and that money should be put towards shopping for the baby when she grows because, well, a lot of the other kids on the block always have new designer-level clothes and she doesn't want our kid to be the odd one out. So I told my ex-wife that I was not giving her any more money and that my obligations are over. Now she's mad and saying that I have 2 kids and they both should be supported. However, only one of my kids is a minor and I don't want my newborn to miss out on any opportunities because money ends up being an object. I had never planned for the expense of supporting my almost 19-year-old after I was legally relieved of that duty, and I don't get why I'm the a-hole. Am I the a-hole? Regardless on the hostile situation with the boss, I don't think it was very smart of the ex-wife to leave her job like that. Sure, hostile environments can be stressful, but she had to understand what she was giving up, right? But how is your wife suddenly an expert as to what is the right payment for a caregiver over the month? And how the hell do you justify that you don't need to give money to a 19-year-old daughter of yours when she is clearly disabled? She's not some independent adult now who can do whatever any adult can do. She has a permanent disability that needs care and therapy for. It just feels like you're trying to ditch your old family and past with this new family because you got a new daughter now that you can focus more of your attention on. I understand legally you're in the clear, but come on dude, have some bloody moral decency. It almost sounds like you're just ashamed of the fact that your first daughter exists. Listen, I think you've really done a fantastic job at trying to justify this to yourself. But the crux of this is that you don't want to pay for one of your children's physical therapy so that the other can have designer baby clothes it will grow out of in mere weeks and will literally never be conscious of. You're the a-hole, dude. That is crazy. Sure hope your newest kid doesn't need anything after they turn 18, especially medical help. You'll have to tell them they're stuff out of luck because your wife's new chihuahua needs designer collars so it's not the odd dog out at the park. Yeta, our eldest child requires lifelong care, which means that it is your job to help provide said care for the rest of her life. Your newborn having designer clothing is a joke in comparison to the intense special needs of your eldest daughter. I'd say everyone sucks here. You suck because she is your child too, and she needs you as well, not just your new perfect family. Ex-wife sucks because she quit her job. This has to be a troll. No one can be this much of an a-hole. I tend to disagree, but hey, what do you think, dear listener? You think he's free just to leave and scoot off without having to care about her anymore now that she's no longer a little girl? Maybe it is more of the fault of the ex-wife for leaving her job and causing him to have to pick up the slack. After all, this could be a case of her leaving her job because she assumed that he'd easily be able to afford everything anyway. Let me know where you stand, I'm curious. Would I be the a-hole if I reported a fellow coworker for suspected drug use? Okay, well, their significant other was recently arrested for methamphetamine. Not only myself, but my other coworkers have noticed a change in them and think they're on something. Drastic weight loss, thinning or greasy hair, sores on hands and face. The one on their face has been raw/open sore for months. Would I be the a-hole, or should I just stay out of it? As a federal employee, I don't like how my direct boss has heard the complaints and done nothing. I could make an anonymous online complaint to federal investigators with our company, or I could just stay out of it. I'm torn, and think I could feel guilty if I would. Hell, what if they aren't on drugs but the signs are there? A few things jump out at me. 1. You don't mention any way at all in which their behavior is impacting you, or even any concerns about anyone's welfare. 2. The ex being involved with meth makes it quite possible, but you are still jumping to conclusions. Given the current state of things and the fact that their significant other was recently arrested, they are almost certainly undergoing some stress or emotional issues, which can also manifest as weight loss, lapses in grooming, and breakouts. 3. You don't know that your boss has done nothing. No government bureaucrats want meth users on their team. Your boss may well have addressed these concerns with the coworker directly and been satisfied with their responses. If your coworker is not using drugs, then you wouldn't, and shouldn't, be privy to those discussions or personal information. If anyone's health or safety becomes a concern, then it will be different. In the meantime, you have nothing but suspicions about something that isn't your business. Stay in your lane. You would be the a-hole. Not the a-hole. If anyone's safety could be jeopardized by his not being in charge of his mental faculties, would you be able to live with it if someone got hurt because of him? I think you would be the a-hole unless you have reason to believe they are putting someone in immediate danger. It sounds like this person is going through hell, so I'm not sure why you would feel it's appropriate to also rip their job out from underneath them. Who are you helping by doing this? You're not even sure they've done drugs. If they have, do you think cutting their income off during a pandemic would help them get back on their feet? No. Also, it's not really your business what your boss has or hasn't done in regards to your coworker. Why would you be privy to that information one way or the other? If it's a matter of their work performance, bring that up with your boss. But guessing about if they're on drugs or not by judging their appearance, which most of it could be a product of their spouse being arrested and their whole life disrupted, is gossipy and weird. I don't see what your motive is except to be judgmental and play hall monitor when that isn't your job and you aren't being affected. OP just sounds like some real conservative when it comes to people on drugs, or at the very least opinionated on how this person is and behaves now that they know that their significant other was a drug user. I agree, if you think their performance at work is affecting you in any way, or if you genuinely find them a threat to your livelihood, okay, you can complain about that. But it doesn't sound like you intend to report this guy for the sake of his health and well-being and to make sure he gets some, rehab or something. It just seems like you want to dob him in. I absolutely think you would be the a-hole, especially if it's based on this sort of motivation. This story's a throwaway. Am I the a-hole for letting my mother call my son by his dead name? My son is 17. About 3 years ago, he came out as transgender, female to male. My husband, Jim, and I have been nothing but supportive. However, we've been slow with his transition because of his age. He understands. He is now on testosterone, has a name change, and we are waiting until it's a bit safer to try and schedule some top surgery for him. For the sake of this post, his name is Max, and his dead name is Abigail. The first relative he came out to was my mum, as they've always been close. She was immediately supportive. Shortly after, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia. She had several health issues which made this progress faster than anticipated. As a result, she currently lives in a care home. We hadn't seen her in a while because of COVID, but we have now been able to see her, socially distanced, starting about a month ago. As soon as we saw her, she greeted Max as Abigail. Immediately, I got a sinking feeling, because my mother would never do that on purpose. Max was shocked and corrected her. She said, "Oh, right, yes," and moved along, but I said nothing. As we kept visiting her, it got worse and worse. She'd forget his name and instead call him Abigail. You could even see her struggle at first, clearly knowing that Abigail wasn't right. It's gotten more difficult for her, and it's gotten more difficult for Max, too. Today was the breaking point. I referenced Max in conversation, and my mother responded, "Who?" only for Max to say, "Me!" and for her to go, "Oh, Abigail." Max, Jim, and I spoke to the care team before we left. They agreed this was due to her condition, and that the best thing to do was to let her call him Abigail rather than correct her, simply because, at this point, it's too late. She sometimes forgets that Jim and I are married, and we always play along as if we're dating, because that's what she thinks. So we hoped Max would understand. Max hated this idea, and went so far as to say that this was internalized transphobia on his grandmother's part. He then blamed me, not only for saying I won't correct her anymore, but also asking him to let her call him Abigail. Am I the a-hole? If I am, what would I do? I get it must be hard for him, but I also know that this is her memory and her condition in worsening, and that correcting her won't do anything. Extra information, Max is in therapy. I may try to have a family session so that we can talk as a unit, Max, Jim, and I. I don't think he's only mad. I think a lot of this is his sadness and heartbreak over losing his grandmother, which is channeled into anger and resentment. I do believe his medications may play a role into this, but we will not be taking him off of the medication. I may still talk to the doctor about it, though. Max is informed about his grandmother's condition. This time, however, I think it just got a lot more personal than her forgetting what grade he was in, what college he wanted to go to, or what his school was called. I think it struck a nerve, and he acted out. No a-holes here. Your mother has dementia. No amount of reminding her will stick. She is not doing it to be hurtful or malicious. She's grasping at the only things she remembers. Your son is just going to have to accept this. It's not ideal for him, I understand, but constantly reminding her or getting mad will not only not help, it will just make her more confused and upset. She's constantly got people telling her she's wrong about things. Don't add to that. This is what we try to do. He knows this well. When it comes to my mother, whatever she thinks is happening, or wherever she thinks she is, that's what's going on, and we stick with it, because no amount of arguing will do. This time he said it was different because she forgot his name. I tried to remind him that Max wasn't always his name, but he won't have any of it. Hey, I'm trans, so if I may jump in, maybe you should ask Max if he'd like to continue going to see his grandma. He's 17. That's old enough to make that decision. I know a name might not seem much, but when I get called my dead name when I'm not expecting it, it's like a slap in the face. It's a shock, and it makes me freeze for a moment. It makes me feel disgusting and wrong. You seem like a great mum to Max, though, and I know you'll do what works best for your family. This is a great point in understanding just how harsh this is on Max. After all, Max being Max is part of his core identity. To be recognized as Max and not as Abigail, I at the least imagine it's like someone knowing that you are in a profession where you've worked your entire life to build up towards and to be professional in and experienced in, only for them to not recognize you as that kind of person. For example, I do acting, I am an actor, I've done work, I actually get paid to do work on the regular with acting stuff. So if despite all this experience and proof that I am an actor, for someone to come up to me and deny or reject the idea that I am and just say, no, you're not an actor, that would absolutely hurt. Of course, I'm not saying I'm dealing with the same prejudice that trans people deal with, but I find that to be a way for me to sympathize with what trans people deal with when it comes to this misidentification. It can seem like a petty thing to be upset when someone says your name wrong, but I think that just stems from the fact that a lot of us just take the idea of identity for granted. You're the a-hole. Maybe don't take him to see Grandma again if she can't stop herself from hurting him. If she has such strong dementia, she won't remember his visit, and clearly this is causing him extreme stress, so expecting him to suck it up and take misgendering is kinda a-hole-ish. Not the grandmother's fault at all, but really bringing him sounds like it's just causing him more stress, so if he shouts again, she'll be stressed, so just leave him at home. Well, he's expressed up until this point that he wants to see her. At the same time, I am scared that if he doesn't come for a while, she won't remember him at all. This is possible. I am also scared that he'll regret not seeing her when she passes. Not the a-hole, this is just so hard. My great-grandfather had the same, and he eventually lost all of our names. He would ask my great-grandmother, "Mary, who are these people?" when we would come to visit. Reassure your son that it's not personal, and it's not transphobia. It's a degenerative brain disease. If she were lucid, she would be horrified that she hurt him like that. So where do you stand in this debacle? Are you for her? Against her? Do you think they all suck in this situation, or is there just no a-holes in general? I think this is just a complicated issue that they're all grieving through, and so I'd have to say no a-holes here personally, but what do you think?
Well, if it ain't Mr./Mrs./person who ended up watching the entire video. Guess that means you liked it. You should like it. And if you loved it, well then you should, love me. By subscribing, I mean. Sorry, I'm not ready for that. Of course, if you're not done procrastinating, you should check out some more videos on the channel. But anyway, my name's been Jack. It is time for us to part ways in the meanwhile, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.